The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is to conduct all outstanding governorship, national and state assembly supplementary elections on Saturday, 15th April 2023. According to the Commission, all outstanding governorship, national and state assembly supplementary elections will be held where they were previously suspended due to glitches and hitches like violence, for which the exercise was declared inconclusive. The supplementary governorship elections will be held in Adamawa and Kebbi states. In Adamawa, the elections will be held in 69 polling units and 142 polling units in Kebbi states, respectively. For the state houses of assembly positions, elections will be held for 57 constituencies across 17 states. They are Akwa Ibom 1, Bayelsa 1, Ebonyi 5, Edo 3, Ekiti 1, Imo 1, Kaduna has 5, Kano 14, Kebbi 8, Niger 4, Ogun 1, Taraba 1, Yobe 1, Jigawa 3, Katsina 3, Enugu 1, and Adamawa has 4. The senatorial elections will be held in the northwestern states of Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara. In Sokoto, supplementary elections are to be held for the 3 senatorial seats, Sokoto North, Sokoto East, and Sokoto South. The elections were earlier declared inconclusive. Meanwhile, supplementary elections for the House of Representatives will be held for 31 constituencies in 15 states. Welcome to Nigeria today. Our focus is on 2023 supplementary elections. I am your carrier, Clinton. Joining me to provide some insight to the 2023 supplementary elections slated for Saturday, 15th April 2023 is from Saudi Arabia via Zoom is Hamzat Lawal, Chief Executive, Connected Development Code. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
A lot of people believe that it's disheartening that the elections recorded, the previous elections recorded a lot of violence and some, snatching of ballot boxes, beavers, and, quite a lot of things were recorded that were not so pleasant. Do you think we can ever grow out of these in our politics?
Again, thank you for having me and happy Ramadan to our viewers. I think that our elections have made progress because if you look at elections in 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015, 2019, and even the just concluded 2023 general elections, we've actually made significant progress. Now you have technology being deployed, which is beavers for accreditation and upload of results, which the IRF platform provides that unique opportunity. Yes, I recognize and acknowledge that there were some glitches during the last elections, particularly the presidential and national assembly election, where the IRF has failed to receive results that were uploaded. But INEC redeemed herself. So during the governorship and state assembly elections, the platform, as the IRF platform, worked perfectly well. Yes, there was that, but I believe that, again, our democracy is still evolving. Our election management process is making progress and still revolving. I believe that ahead 2027, we'll make much more progress and grow from the lessons we've learned. Because the good thing is we've identified gaps, we've learned lessons. And when we have the 10 National Assembly, we can then approach the National Assembly to further amend the Electoral Act. So yes, we've made progress. Yes, there were glitches, but we must continue to move forward as a country, take lessons, fill up that gap, take international best practices, and make progress so we can rebuild back trust in the electoral system and in governance in general.
What is your perception about the generally the perception about the supplementary elections as about to be held on the 15th of April?
I think INEC even did well to hold the election in these places, because I know in some places it was because of violence, in some other places because of interference, and some other places because of issues around security. Yes, it's just some places that have issues with beavers not being responsive, but I think generally the Nigerian people were happy that INEC actually halted and declared some places inconclusive, and now the supplementary election would hold on the 15th. So I think it got positive feedback, because for us at Connected Development, we deployed 20,000 observers, and the feedback we're getting from people on the ground is, they're happy that this supplementary election would happen. And because also this is not, because again, this is a pocket of just a few polling units that election will hold. So what this means is security will be able to deploy more power. There'll be not enough pressure, or not a lot pressure on INEC, so they'll be able to deliver, and the beavers, the IRF would work in optimum functionality. So yes, this is actually good to also enhance our democracy and ensure that the will of the people prevail.
And now also joining me in the studio is David Akoji, Director, Special Duty National Orientation Agency. You're welcome.
Good evening.
Now, generally, how prepared are we? I'm talking now in terms of sensitization. How aware are the people about this election? Because some persons, when you talk about the elections, is it not over yet?
There's apathy, certainly. There's voter apathy, arising perhaps from the adverse narratives, that politicians have built around the outcome of especially the presidential election of 2023 general elections. Now, those members of the public who are not able to analyze, for instance, the figures, the statistics you just reeled out at the beginning of this program. These supplementary elections will be happening in about 2,000 polling units across 24 states of the Federation. Now, if you cast that figure against the total figure of polling units, which is about 174,000 plus, over 174,000 polling units across the country where the elections happened, you will find that 2,000 is not even up to 5%. Now, that should tell us something about how good these elections were. It's not reflected in the pervasive narratives that we're hearing. It appears the voices out there that are trying to impugn the conduct of the 2023 general elections are more overwhelming than the realities that the statistics show. And what are the realities? 174,000 over polling units where elections held. We're having to go back to only over 2,000 polling units to do it again. So it tells a story if you interpret these statistics. The other story that you can deduce from the statistics that you just read out also, for the House of Representatives, for instance, the National Assembly, elections are going to hold in about, for 31 constituencies, in about 15 states or thereabout. Now that holds meaning for those who are currently jostling for leadership positions in the House of Representatives, for instance. It also holds meaning for the opposition, whose numbers can be bettered if they were to get more of these constituencies into their political parties. It holds meaning also for APC, the ruling political party, in terms of them wanting to continue to maintain the majority that they currently enjoy, in both arms of the National Assembly. So this is the interpretation of these statistics. There's a lot at stake here. For National Orientation Agency, our role is to sensitize people again, sensitize voters and encourage them to come out. Now, this is different from the work that we did during the general elections, because elections will be happening in specific constituencies at specific polling units. So we're engaging with our community orientation and mobilization officers to again go around you know, and do voter mobilization. Some of the feedbacks we're getting is that people are not very excited, you know, about it, especially given the fact that the background that the incidence of vote buying and vote selling has also actually been greatly minimized by some actions, you know, that government has taken, you know, thus far. But we're hopeful that it will be peaceful, you know, and that it will reflect the will of the people.
So what you just talked about what the national orientation has been doing in terms of this, you know, sensitization. So what is the collaboration like between you and the INEC, you know, in ensuring that, okay, at least we have a successful election, you know, supplementary election?
Our collaboration with INEC is ongoing. You know, we are members also of the Interministerial Election Security Committee by virtue of the fact that we have this Y brigade and we have capacity because of our national footprint expressed in offices in the 774 local governments and our understanding of the language and cultural nuances in all of these local governments. We have this attribute of being able to gather civil intelligence, you know. So we work closely with INEC on that score. We also work with them in terms of voter sensitization to ensure that incidents of violence during elections are minimized, vote buying is discouraged and vote selling, you know, and that people are encouraged not to become apathetic, you know, but to come out and really exercise their civic responsibilities. Okay.
Hamzat, it's quite unfortunate that our youths have been used as pawns in the hands of this politician to, you know, perpetrate, you know, violence and disruption during elections. How, in your opinion, do you think this could be tackled?
Yes, it can be tackled. See, we cannot run a country without consequence. And I think that this is where the role of law enforcement agencies are important. I know that the IG of police had announced that over 300 people were arrested that perpetrated various forms of electoral violence or electoral malpractices during the 2023 general elections. What is important is to expedite charges and ensure that these people are taken to court and charged and get court rulings so that some of them can be put behind bars. So, because this would send a strong signal that when you try to interfere in an electoral process or try to steal the mandate of people, then it comes with a price, it comes with consequence. And I think this would also help us to reignite our values as a country, because what we saw from the just concluded election is as if that our values are literally breaking. You know, the fabric of our country, which are our values that makes us, you know, proud citizens, are breaking. So again, the law enforcement must rise to the occasion, must prosecute these people and ensure that, you know, this information and knowledge goes far and wide, working with organizations like the National Orientation Agency and collaborating with various civil society organizations. Again, because of the outcome and the gaps that we have also noticed, the 10th National Assembly has a lot of work to do and there's a lot of expectation. And with this kind of conversation, we're already setting an agenda for the 10th National Assembly to look at how we can amend the Electoral Act. And I think also that more funding needs to go to our law enforcement agency. And I'm not particularly for people who are calling for you know, an electoral offenses commission to be created. We have too many agencies of government, and, you know, we're talking about reducing the cost of governance. So what is important is to galvanize and mobilize more resources to the Nigerian law enforcement agency, particularly the apex body, which is the Nigerian police force. If we give them, you know, all the needed resources, I believe that they can rise to the occasion, because again, the world has celebrated the Nigerian police as one of the best law enforcement agencies. So all we need to do is give them the tools and resources they need to undertake their duty in safeguarding our democracy.
So David, he just, you know, I asked him earlier on how the youths that are being used as pawns in the hands of, you know, politicians. So what is the national orientation doing in this regard, in sensitizing the youth about, you know, the importance of, you know, towing the line of peace, you know, peaceful election, you know, in our democratic journey, because it's very, very important.
Absolutely,
to know that.
you're right about it. We have had quite a number of engagements with the youth in the build-up to the 2023 general elections. Aside from the engagements we had, because it was part of our voter education strategy across the country, apart from that, specifically, we also produced jingles. NTA was running that jingles for very, very long, before and immediately after the elections, discouraging our youth from availing themselves to be used to perpetrate violence in the aftermath of the elections. But more critically, we have discovered that the social media space has become the veritable battleground for youths to ventilate, you know. And the way they go about, the way and manner they go about such ventilation sometimes is inciting, you know, to other youths across the country. We have found use of language that can be termed hate speech. You know, we have also found prevalent use of what is popularly called fake news. You know, disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation, to create beliefs that are not true in the hearts of people, and by so doing, motivate those people to become hateful, you know, of other people in other parts of the country and so on. And you find a lot of this, you know, happening in the social media space, which is the new battleground, you know, that the youths have created. You see some of these conversations on Twitter, you see them on WhatsApp groups, you know, and so on and so forth, on Facebook pages and all of that, and they attack each other and they use very foul and offensive languages. So what we have done is we have instituted, alongst with some of the leading fact checkers in West Africa, Center for Democracy and Development and Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development, we have instituted a national fact checking course, you know, and this has been happening since last year, preparatory, you know, to have us play a significant role, you know, in curbing fake news, you know, disinformation and misinformation during these elections. And it worked out very well for us, you know. Shortly before the elections, we noticed a spike, you know, in the pervasiveness of the use of fake news and hate speech. So we asked for volunteers, you know, and we had over close to 260 volunteers from across the country who joined the National Orientation Agency in setting up our situation room for monitoring fake news, hate speech, and all of that. So as they were identifying, they were populating our space with it, and we're doing debunks, putting out facts, you know, and ensuring that the truth, you know, it gains as much speed as the fake news and the purveyors of fake news and hate speech who were putting out there.
Okay, you talked about, you know, sensitizing the youth before the election. How effective was it? Looking at the election and how it went, how effective was that?
I would say it was largely effective. You know, there were people in and outside of this country who were postulating that this election was going to be a do-or-die affair for our country. You know, that violence will break out, that people will commit also, that end SARS would be a child's play compared to the things that we will see. But you saw how the election went. Yes, there were incidents of violence. But if you compare that to this 174,000 and over polling units where elections happened, and you place that side by side with the areas where violence, you know, and such things were recorded, and then if you measure it in terms of percentage, you will find that we can confidently say that we had a largely violence-free election. And that's not to say that things didn't happen. You know, I'm talking in terms of percentages now. If you had elections happen in over 174,000 polling units, and if you look at the pictures that were being put out in the social media of incidents of violence, they were the same pictures being repeated on all social media handles and platforms. You know, that shows you that we did not have pervasive violence happening everywhere. So that's a measure that you can take and then look at, okay, how effective was the sensitization that not only National Orientation Agency, civil societies did. INEC did her bit. Religious leaders also did their bit, and traditional rulers and all of that. So NOA will not take the credit all to itself, although even though we worked intensely, all over this country in every local government to ensure that there was peaceful election. Okay,
thank you very much. Hamzat, earlier on when I was talking to David about sensitization, he talked about that people are not really so excited about it, that there's apathy setting. Given this situation, do you think this supplementary election is about to take, are you optimistic that it will reflect the will of the people?
Well, there's another opportunity here for the electorate to decide who represents them, in various constituencies. I'm optimistic that people will turn out to vote because, one, there will be guarantee of lives and property. There will be enough deployment of security personnel to ensure that there's peace. And, observers would also be deployed. So there's an opportunity here for electorates to leverage on the supplementary elections and ensure that their will prevail. So I'm optimistic that people would actually come out to cast their ballots. And I think that this is a message that we must continue to preach, that, democracy, it's about inclusion, it's about participation. And no matter the grievances or misgiving, you must continue to participate, because as we continue to participate, we're strengthening the process, we're strengthening the system, and we're also ensuring that it's improved to better serve and deliver to the Nigerian people.
We talked about so much about sensitizing the voters. We talk about the youth. Of course, they are part of some of them are most of them were the voters there. Now, what about the politicians that see although some of them that see this election as a do or die affair? So, what has been the relationship with them, or in terms of passing information to them,
from our point of view, in terms of collaboration and perhaps synergy with political parties with regards to voter education, we have not found them very cooperative, especially the leading political parties, APC, PDP, and the rest of them. You invite them to meetings to hold conversations, and the majority of the political parties that you see are the fringe political parties. This is a fact. In the build-up to 2023 general elections, we made quite a number of efforts to engage with the political class through the political parties. I must say with commendation that the then chairman of IPAC was at this engagement with us. And we found that chairmen, secretaries, and a few officials of the fringe political parties were also there. And they joined us in feeling disenchanted that the major ones who have the bulk of the followers neither showed up nor did they send representatives.
So what does it tell of our political journey?
Well, what it tells is that there's still a lot of work to do, I think that the political parties still have not come to terms with their responsibility in the area of voter education. They think it's only about canvassing for votes for their political party, for their candidates, and that's not what it's all about. Political parties have a huge responsibility in the area of voter education, and mobilizing voters to know what their rights are, and the fact that it's important for them to exercise their civic responsibility by coming out. We don't see them on the field, doing this.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And Hamzat, what will be your final word?
What is, Nigeria is a breeding ground for all of us, and the country belongs to us. We have another opportunity to inform the decisions of governance. We have a president-elect. We must set an agenda for the president-elect because he is representing the interests of the collective people of Nigeria. But most importantly, we must remain peaceful, because without peace, there will be no shared prosperity. So peace is important and should continue to remain, the important fabric of our society. And I think also we must commend organizations like the National Orientation Agency that continue to invest in reorientating the Nigerian people and ensuring that we have a unique fabric in our society.
Thank you very much. And that's it on Nigeria Today. We must thank our guest, David Akoji, Director, Special Duty, National Orientation Agency. Thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you very much, Ikeria.
And via Zoom from Saudi Arabia, Hamzat Lawa, Chief Executive, Connected Development Code. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And to our viewers, thank you for keeping the date. And don't forget, Nigeria Today airs weekdays at 7:30 in the evening. You can watch these and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am Ikeria Clinton. Goodbye.